tutors, mentors, and the city with your host.com.
The City Tutors presents
Tutors, mentors, and the city
with your host.com.
You said you were skipping over the entry-level gig and you were going to the equities and stuff. So pick up where you left off.
Yes. So my first job, second job, was at Credit Suisse. It was called Credit Suisse First Boston, actually, at the time. And it was in equity research, which is what I do now. But it was for a subsector in paper and forest products. So I was the associate supporting the analyst who was analyzing paper companies.
So that's the entry level.
Yes, it was. Yes. Mm-hmm. I was kind of the junior person on the team.
Okay. So does Wall Street work like that? Like you start at entry level as a junior, whatever, and then you work your way up to an analyst or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, that was my path. And certainly, a lot of people have taken that path, but basically I, started at that very entry point level. I took a small detour and did some banking for a couple of years in London just to get some international experience and some banking experience. And then when I moved back to the States, I had gotten still a junior role, but a slightly more senior junior role because I had some years of experience working for another analyst at Citigroup. And from there, I was able to kind of work my way up to be my own analyst a couple of years later.
Now, that sounds like a big time position.
Yes, I feel like it is, we're not saving the world. Let's be honest, but it is a very public role. So I was talking before about recommending stocks. How we get those recommendations out or through reports, where we write those theses and those reports are published. So, the press can pick up on it. You're disseminating it to thousands of clients. Salespeople at our bank are reading it. Bankers are reading it. It's very public. And so I feel like that's what makes this, a bigger job, because everything that you say is on record. And if it is, people will know how the stock acts depending on it. So people will know if you're wrong or if you're right. And so I think that's where a lot of the pressure lies, honestly, with regards to the job.
Okay, so if you've been in the industry for 25 years, you witnessed not only the other stuff from these glamorous movies, these situations that I've watched that fascinated me, and I'm sure I'm not alone. But you've also witnessed the transition from the broker to the virtual, the app.
Yeah, yeah.
How was that?
It's so funny. You don't totally, some things you notice, when you're in it, when things are changing, sometimes you notice it. Other times it takes some time for it to evolve. And, then when it evolves, it almost is like you knew it was going to happen. So I would kind of categorize that, as that. There's been lots of changes, again, from a regulation standpoint and just from an information standpoint. Information is so much more instantaneous now in terms of how we get it, how quickly we can disseminate it than it was, 10 or even 15 or even 10 years ago. And so I would say that's been a bigger change, for me than anything else.
Have you ever been on the floor? That famous floor where all the guys are yelling, and have you ever? That's not a part of your day, right?
It's not a part of my day. I have been on the floor though. I've been interviewed by CNBC sometimes, and you've probably noticed when they do their interviews, sometimes it comes from the floor there. So that's been my experience.
Yes. So you have some television experience. You have some.
I it's not like yours, but yes, I have some. I have some.
Listen, I was a big watcher to see NBC. I may have seen some of your interviews. So, I don't know. I might be a fan of yours and just didn't connect the dots yet. Now, okay. So also the pandemic, how did the pandemic affect your day-to-day existence through this career journey of yours?
Yeah. So, it's so funny because I mentioned before I have my 4 kids and I love them so much. And being at work every day, it was very hard for me to be away from them. And I think if anybody said, Kate, there's going to be a pandemic a few years from now, and you will never have to go into the office. There will be a very long time in which you don't have to go into the office. I would have said, oh my gosh, without, again, the pandemic was terrible, but in that situation of staying home, yeah, if I could stay home and I could be with my kids and do this job, that sounds like, the best of both worlds. But what I didn't anticipate was just, all the uncertainty, and the working from home when the kids were home, so it was, a very, very strange time to be working. As an example, I had an intern, a summer intern. Goldman kept their summer internship for the summer of 2020. And she was doing her internship from her childhood bedroom in her parents' house after coming home from, school because of the pandemic. And I just really felt for her because, it's one thing for me to be home after having years and years of sitting amongst people and learning from them and being able to travel and do all this stuff. But then people coming into, the role and being remote, I think that was probably, the hardest thing of all. And I think that's been, another reason why, people have made a bigger push for employees to come back into the office, because it is important to, not just be in your, silo and working on your laptop. You need that, interaction and camaraderie and mentorship that you can really only get if you're, in the office.
Right. So particularly young people had to sacrifice so many human interactions. The whole reason you do an internship, that's the whole reason to be there, to touch it, to feel it, to smell it, to taste it. And they had to sacrifice so much of that. But yeah, as a mom, it had to be great. It had to be, I mean, as a dad, being stuck in the house. I remember that 2-year period where you're just around your family too much. There was a too much. Did you find the too much period?
Yeah, I think we did. At the time, my oldest son was 12. And, it was a time that he should have been doing a little bit more on his own, walking into town with his friends, bike riding, doing that kind of stuff. And I felt like that kind of rite of passage was, really, really tough for him to be home during. And we had a 3-year-old at the time, too, that, spent a lot of time on his iPad because, both my husband and I were working and the older kids were doing their school. So there were points of consternation there that even though we were all together and we were safe and we were grateful for that, definitely, wasn't super easy.
Right. Okay. What's the outlook? Are we still uncertain on Wall Street?
About the macro outlook? About the economy? Yeah.
Well, how about more about you? More about, is there going to be a memo saying, okay, Kate, the fun's over. Now it's time to come in. Now we want you to come in 4 out of 5 days a week. Is that letter coming soon?
Well, my firm has been five days for a long time now. In 5 days, I'm recording this from home right now because I've been traveling this week and got in super late. So they do give us some grace period for that, but we're in 5 days a week. And again, I think it is about being there for the younger people, but also just that's the way it was before, and now it's safe to go in, so it should be back to 5 days a week. Is at least how our approach is.
Cool. I'm in grad school, and my class is right in front of the Bull.
Oh, fun.
Down in the financial district. How far are you from the Bull?
We're not too far. We're on the West Side Highway, right near Brookfield.
Okay.
So, and across from the World Trade Center spot. So that's where we are. So we're not too far. A little bit more west than you.
Okay. Well, I drive by you every time.
I guess.
Yeah, I drive by you. I take the West Side Highway to get to park. I park over there. I park downtown.
Okay.
Over there.
Yeah.
Because I don't take public transportation. I gave up on that in New York decades ago. But as far as when I go down to the financial district, it's all business for me, right? You recognize the air of everybody else. It's all business for everyone. But I don't stop and look around. Yeah. I don't see the sights. But there's always a long line of people taking pictures on the Bull every day. The Bull is a major tourist attraction down there.
Yeah, and you have the fierce girl too. Do you have that near the Bull? The girl that's kind of standing there. I think it's the fierce girl. This bronze statue. I like the imagery of it. It's it's like kind of breaking through a glass ceiling and on Wall Street. I personally like the image. But,
I'm not familiar with that. And I'm a native New Yorker. I'm born and raised in New York. And I never see the sights. I don't know anything about New York sights, right? New Yorkers, we take our city for granted forever, right? If you're a lifetimer.
We totally do.
Yeah. Yes. So I've never heard of the, what'd you call it? Yes. What'd you call the woman? What'd you call her?
I think it's called the fierce girl, fearless girl. I think that's what it's called. I'll send you a picture of it. But it's it's a great image that I like, and it's around that area, like near the Bull.
I appreciate that. Okay, so now you're a big time hotshot on Wall Street. Do you recommend it
as a career?
Yeah.
I do recommend it as a career. I do. I think I was talking with a client the other day about something someone said. They were like, this job never seems to get easier. All these years of Wall Street, you think things would just kind of be figured out. You've done this so long, you can kind of do your sleep. It never gets easier. You never see the same thing twice. There's always the new to analyze, to think about, to consider. You're always reading, you're always engaged, you're always trying to be up on things. And that's what makes the job so great. And I think that's what's been able to gauge all the time. At the same time, it's, it is a lot of work.
Okay. This is a mentorship exercise that we're doing. Your story is the story of so many, right? So many moms, so many people so many young ladies who grow up and go into finance and from New York and go to Indiana and then come back to New York to Wall Street, which in the movie sounds like the fiercest place on the planet. Is there any industry more fierce than Wall Street? At least it's depiction in the movie.
Yes. No, they definitely make it look glamorous sometimes.
Now, all that, what advice would you have to offer to young you coming out of Notre Dame?
So I would say three things. First and foremost is just read everything you can get your hands on. That's something that I've learned over time is really important. But if I could have started younger, I think I would have. And what it does is it just helps you relate to more people. It makes you well read. It helps you generate ideas. It keeps you informed and just, makes you just a better all around person and worker. And so that's, if you're in finance, reading the Wall Street Journal is great and you should do that, but you should read everything you can get your hands on, any kind of periodical, nonfiction books, fiction books, if you're in a specific subsector, learning about things in that nature from reading. So I think reading is like first and foremost my advice to everybody, and would be the advice to myself. The second is not being afraid to ask questions. I have found that some of the best analysts that I compete against are the ones that ask the best questions. It's something that I actually struggle with, thinking of good questions that get to the heart of things. And I think if I, practiced it a little bit more when I was younger and wasn't afraid to ask questions, I'd be maybe a little bit better at asking questions today. But I think I'm always surprised that there are no dumb questions. The questions that you ask show that you're curious. It shows that you are interested. It shows that you want to understand more. There are no dumb questions. And then the third thing I would give my advice, but this is much harder. This is less practical. This is more wishful, if you will, is just I wish I had more confidence. It's very easy to very quickly think of yourself as an imposter. I still have moments like that, even today, after all these years, to kind of wonder how you got to where you were and if you deserve to be there. Those are all, things that I think young people feel, especially as they're transitioning from, college to a career and as they progress through their career. And so if I could, speak to my younger self, I would just say, take it easy. You're meant to be here and you're going to figure it out.
Okay. I've interviewed some incredible people, and since we started doing these podcasts, I may have interviewed 40 or 50 people, 40 or 50
Wow.
super successful people. We talked for an hour and everyone's so fascinating. But, and I've had an interview. I had interviews that made me cry, literally make me break down and cry and tears come out my eyes. Big ups to that guy. Big ups to Dr. Hershkowitz. I've had some great answers, great responses, but Kate, I think that 3-parter you just gave, that's snippet worthy, that's highlight worthy, that 3-parter, that might have been the greatest combination. That might have been the greatest combination of advice that anyone has given out of the 40 or 50 interviews that we've done. That was, yeah.
Thank you. Well, no, I really mean it.
Well stated and well said, because I can use those tips. Anybody, anybody can use those tips. Those were some good ones. Yeah. And I was checking as you were saying them. I'm a guy, when I read, I was born with an astigmatism, so I always had bad eyes. And when I was a kid, I always knew how to read. I could read, I spoke well, but I was straining my eyes and I'd always get sleepy. So reading was troublesome to me, because who wants to fall asleep in the middle of the day just because you have to read a bunch of pages, right?
Right.
But like literally, my eyes are straining. My eyes are tired. Now I'm yawning and now I'm dozing off with the book in my hand. So reading has always been that kind of tedious for me. Yeah. So I love audiobooks now. I love audiobooks.
Oh, yep.
And I subscribe to Speechify to get me through my master's degree. Any way I can make the reading experience less cumbersome for myself. Here's a question for you. Here's a question. If you listen to an audiobook, can you tell someone you read the book?
Oh, that is a good question. I think so. I think so.
You know what? I think so too, right?
Yeah.
One of my PhD friends, who's so obnoxious, smart people are so obnoxious sometimes, right? One of my PhD friends said, reading is a certain set of exercises, so you cannot tell them that you read the book if you listen to the audiobook, because you are not committing those series of activities. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even know why I asked you the question. You annoy me. You annoy me so much. Yeah.
No, I definitely think you can say you read it. It's the same thing. Yeah. I think it's the same thing.
I think it's the same thing too. It's evolution. It's technology. It's the new world. It's the future.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Hey, Kate, OMG, thank you so much.
Yeah, I was thrilled to talk to you. I've been really looking forward to this. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
It was. And I hope you realize how fascinating you are, right? Because you're your story.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.